you want to lead, so we have few ones speaking, so up to you, Daniel, so it's a party time. Okay, don't treat it very formal. Now I can see that we have 24 people coming in already, so let's see. We are allowing people coming in. As of this morning, it's 100 registration, so let's see. But this is just the first time that the first of the very beginning, we're going to have this kind of webinar. Slowly, the second one or the third one, and so on and so on. Okay, so Marina Barros also come in. Marina Barros, my friend. Okay, I can saw her name there. Marina Barros from TDC. So it will be a good show. Show time. All right. So Wiley.
Maybe we just wait for 1 minute more and then we can.
We wait for 1 minute more and then we go. So we have Sujun Ko. Sujun Ko is it's a Korean, Brazil Korean, and she has a company helping Brazilians, to ship their products, to China. So I think, Daniel, you know her, right?
Yes, very good friend. We are all good friends here, Thomas.
Yeah, I know her. Su Chen Pu, yeah. So friends are important, huh?
Yes.
So we have 27 coming in already. So slowly, not normally in Brazil, how many, if you go to a party or to a restaurant, what is the norm of being late? How many minutes?
1 hour.
1 hour. Oh my God. In Latin America, Latin America, in other countries, will be, I don't know, 2 hours or 3 hours,
Yeah.
So now today cannot be 1 hour late, because our webinar, we only last for 1.5 hours.
It can range from 15 minutes to half an hour, and we always blame on traffic jam. So this is the problem.
I know. You always blame the traffic jam. I know. So Eric, you have to get used to this, slowly. All right, if you want to do business with Brazil, Eric.
Don't worry, I've been to Spain before.
Spain is 3 hours or 4 hours. All right. They don't blame the traffic. They blame the tapas, and they got drunk. Now we have 30. All right. So. 31 now. I think we kickstart now. All right, don't wait. Okay, if you're okay, if you feel comfortable, Daniel.
Yes, for me it's okay. I think Miss Wheeler will start for 5 minutes to talk for everyone, right?
Yes, sure.
Great.
Okay.
So hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. And this webinar's topic is Accelerate Your Asia Business Through Hong Kong. And thank you for taking the time and be here today. I'm Wei from CWCPA, and I'll be hosting this webinar. Before we begin, I would like to introduce today's expert panelists to all of you. Mr. Daniel Lau is our moderator. He is the head of China desk from Willis Towers Watson. And sitting next to me is Mr. Thomas Wong, partner from CWCPA, and he's also representing China Chamber of Commerce of Brazil. And we also have Mr. Eric Chan, Chief Public Mission Officer at Cyberport Hong Kong, and Mr. Tiago Cruz Xavier, Principal Consultant in Brazil from Invest Hong Kong, and hello. Mr. Jose Ricardo dos Santos, who is the CEO of Leader China, and Mr. Ricardo Trey, Chairman of the Board of Arena Hub, and Mr. Joel Palosica Ferro, and he's the CEO of Raja Valley. And welcome our panelists. And next, I would like to thank Cyberport, Invest Hong Kong, China Chamber of Commerce of Brazil, Leader China, Willis Towers Watson, Giga Ventures, Arena Hub, Raja Valley, and CWCPA for supporting today's webinar. So I would now like to draw your attention to today's rundown. The first section will be a panel discussion chaired by Mr. Daniel Lau. And the second section will be the presentation section by Mr. Tiago from Invest Hong Kong and Henry from Cyberport Hong Kong. We will also be running a Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions, please share them in the chat box and our panelists will answer them in the Q&A session. So this webinar is about 1.5 hours long, and we are recording this webinar, so you are welcome to access it at a later date. So I think now is the time for Daniel to host a panel discussion. So I'll pass the time to Daniel, please.
Thank you, Willie. Good morning, good evening. First of all, thank you, Mr. Thomas from CWCPA, and thank you, Mr. Eric Chan from Hong Kong Cyberport for this unique and fantastic initiative. And thanks to the distinguished guests from Invest Hong Kong, from Lady China, from Raja Valley, and Arena Hub, and Brazil-China Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for your presence. And special thanks to Ms. Delilah, who makes this possible, this event today. My name is Daniel Lau, and I have been working with cross-border Latin America and Asia M&A and greenfield investment in the past 20 years. It's a pleasure to be the moderator today and to lead the panel discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, shall we start? My first question goes to Mr. Eric. Mr. Eric, we are very keen to hear your presentation, but could you please introduce us? I have a few questions to you. First question I would like to ask you, what is the biggest attraction for overseas tech ventures companies to land at Cyberport, to land at Hong Kong? Could you please share your main thoughts to us?
Thank you, Daniel. And yes, you know, for our overseas friends in Brazil, and Cyberport is a technology park. We are a digital tech hub in Hong Kong, wholly owned by Hong Kong government. So we exist, you know, to help companies flourish, you know, especially for companies in the tech ventures area. So we already have a community of around 1,600 tech companies, big and small, and we believe that a healthy ecosystem, you know, must have you know, an entire holistic ecosystem. So I've actually talked to a lot of overseas companies who managed to land in Hong Kong and land in Cyberport. And before I go on, I just want to share that like Hong Kong itself, Cyberport is like a mini Hong Kong. We are very international. 1/3 of the companies in Cyberport community comes from outside of Hong Kong. And so if you come here, you'll be very, very comfortable because you're going to see a lot of faces from very different nationalities. And one of the major attraction, I would say, today is really the Greater Bay Area policy that has been now kind of made known to many people all over the world. Because Hong Kong by itself is a very small place with 7.5 million people. It's not enough, you know, for anyone who has the aspiration to become a unicorn. You actually need a bigger market. So together with 9 cities in the Guangdong province, plus Hong Kong and Macau, we actually form a Bay Area of over 70 million populations, 10 times of Hong Kong. And that immediately, if you compare it to San Francisco Bay Area or Tokyo Bay Area, is actually at the biggest of all these, right? And Hong Kong would be a very good place, you know, for any overseas companies to test their product concept in this part of the region. And then we can help through our partnership, you know, with very different cities to help you actually reach all these potential markets.
Thank you, Eric. That's fantastic. No doubt the Greater Bay Area will have a very bright future. My next question goes to Mr. Thomas Wong, partner and chairman of the CWCPA. Mr. Thomas, how CWCPA can support Brazilian startups to their Asia business? I think many of our colleagues today attending to the webinar would like to know more how CWCPA can support their plans in Hong Kong or even the Greater Bay Area.
First of all, thank you very much, Daniel, for this question. How can CWCPA Latin department, support the Brazilians, to come to Hong Kong and also to the Greater Bay Area? First of all, it will be definitely our network, in the whole of Brazil, because I'm the representative of the China Chamber of Commerce Brazil in Sao Paulo. And then I am using their office, to receive my potential clients together with Invest Hong Kong, Tiago, that we help them, we give them more information about how to set up a company in Hong Kong and what is this like in Hong Kong, doing business in Hong Kong, and how is it like, doing business in the Greater Bay Area, capturing, the advantage of 70 million people in the Greater Bay Area, capturing, the rising trend of the technology, in Shenzhen, supported, by Hong Kong, its financial strength. And most important of all, that recently I have developed a startup package. That means is to say that we know that startups people, they are very young entrepreneur or they are very brave, in developing new business. Like me, I developed Latin America, 15 years ago. In 2010, I was in Brazil, together with the previous financial secretary visiting, the Brazil Stock Exchange. I remember on that day, December the 8th, the first Brazilian company was listed in Hong Kong called Vale, V-A-L-E, Vale. Now, I don't want to sidetrack that, but in CWCPA, we have 2 Brazilian staff working for me. And we have a startup package. That is to say that the incorporation cost of starting a company in Hong Kong, we will take care of the young entrepreneurs, give them a very reasonable price. And then they don't have to come to Hong Kong to open a company, because I have, developed a relationship with HSBC we call digital banking. And what is important, if they want to start up a startup company in Hong Kong, I will bring them to Cyberport, where if their project is viable in Hong Kong and in the Greater Bay Area, I will teach them to how to apply, the funding given by Cyberport. I think this is the main crux, we help them, we nurture them, and I hope to, through me, through Cyberport, through Invest Hong Kong, through the China Chamber of Commerce Brazil, we can develop more unicorns, in Brazil for Hong Kong. So I hope that is clear to you, Daniel, so I hope the other participants can hear what I was talking about just now. Okay, is that okay for you, Daniel?
Yes, great. Thank you, Thomas. Definitely CWCPA is a necessary partner for all the Brazilian companies, startups to begin their initial steps in Hong Kong and the Great Bay Area. And talk about the necessary partner, I would like to invite Mr. Thiago Cruz from Invest Hong Kong. Mr. Thiago, would you like to share with us how international is the startup community in Hong Kong? And how do you see the Brazilian startups raising funds in Hong Kong?
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your question. Good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Thiago Silveira from Invest Hong Kong. As Cyberport, Invest Hong Kong is also a government department, and we exist to facilitate companies' investments from all over the world to Hong Kong. And we are very happy to join forces with our friends and partners today in this webinar. And coming back to your question, Daniel, yes, Hong Kong is a very international place in Asia for a Brazilian business to set up, a Brazilian startup to set up an operation. Inside Invest Hong Kong, we yearly conduct research on the startup community. And our last research from the 2019 data shows that 40% of Hong Kong startups have international founders. So actually, the correct number is 59% of Hong Kong startups are local, but 41% are international. And this shows how open and how international is the startup community in Hong Kong. And when we drill down the numbers, those 41%, they are from all over the world. Of course, mainland China has a good chunk of it, but US, Europe, and even other parts of Asia are using Hong Kong as a launchpad to explore the Asian markets. Your second question was really interesting about fundraising, and it has a lot to do with Thomas just mentioned, because we've been working in this bridge and in this market for a long time now, and every Brazilian or every international startup, they look at the deep pockets, right, of Hong Kong and Asia, and they come to us. How do I reach out to the deep pockets, to the deep venture capital funds? How do I fundraise in Hong Kong? And our advice, and inside Invest Hong Kong, we facilitate and complete almost 500 projects, investment projects from all over the world to the city. So we have a lot of experience in place, in-house. The best practice says is you have to be local. You have to be in Hong Kong. You have to set up a Hong Kong firm, which is very much easy. I'm pretty sure Thomas and CWCPA will mention this later on. But because being local, at the moment, this international Brazilian startup starts to, open its office or its point of presence in Hong Kong, they become a Hong Kong company. And then the access and the conversation and the relationship with the Asian funds and the Hong Kong funds really, really starts to work. So I don't know if I answered you, Daniel, but thank you again for your question.
Yes, perfect, Thiago. Yes, your advice is very clear. And the message is we need to be local. We need to go to Hong Kong. We need to stay there for all those startups and companies that wants to raising, as you said, raising venture capital funds or raising other sources of fund. You really need to be local. So thank you very much, Thiago, for sharing this very precious advice to us. My next question goes to Mr. José Ricardo, CEO of Lead China. Mr. José Ricardo, how Lead China can support Brazilian startups to their Hong Kong or to their Asia or to their Great Bay Area investments or business there? How do you see Lead China linking both Brazilian startups and the Brazilian ecosystem, digital ecosystem, and the Hong Kong digital ecosystem? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for the opportunity to join this seminar. I'm really happy to be with you here, also with Cyberport, with CW, CPA, Invest Hong Kong, Willis Towers Watson, Arena Hub, Brazil, China, Chamber of Commerce, and Reja Valley. Lead China is a business leadership group which unites, as a business platform, unites the Brazilian and the Chinese entrepreneurs in order to strengthen the ties between Brazil and China. So one of the things that we do is we organize several in-depth courses and missions from the Brazilians into China and also the Chinese into Brazil. And we have done several partnerships since our establishment in 2013. As for instance, I think that it's very important to mention the event that we have done with Invest Hong Kong, for example, last year. Thiago Silveira, who is also joining us here today, organized with Lead China a seminar to explain about the benefits from the Great Bay Area. So again, this is a huge potential for the Brazilian startups when we think about going international. If I may, I think that it's important for us to give you a scenario about the Brazilian startups. According to the Brazilian Association of Startups, so far we had in 2018 10,000 startups established, and in the end of 2019, 12,700 startups. But only 1 in 4 startups lasts for the first 5 years. So it's very challenging, And I'm confident that the Great Bay Area can be a special place for the Brazilian startups, which can raise funds, can have simple procedures to be established, the business can be scaled up, and also a very important key issue in the Great Bay Area, especially Hong Kong, is in relation to the tax. Tax in Hong Kong is one of the lowest in the world, and it's a very simple procedure. We don't have a very complicated tax legal system in Hong Kong. So when you think about going global, when you think about having a global mindset, I'm confident that the Great Bay Area is a special place in which the Brazilian startups can pay attention, not only in the Silicon Valley or Portugal or Panama or Holland. The Great Bay Area is a very interesting place, and Cyberport can be one of the key partners among CW, Invest Hong Kong, and others to develop the Brazilian startups business in the area. There is only one additional thing that I would like to stress, is that the Brazilian startups need an entrepreneurship education and also a connected ecosystem. And that's something that Hong Kong can provide. So thank you once more. I hope that I have answered your questions, and I will be available for the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Mr. José Ricardo. Very, very fruitful insights sharing to us today. Definitely, China can support very well the Brazilian startups going to invest in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area. My next question goes to Mr. João Paulo Fialho, CEO of Raja Valley. Mr. João Paulo, good morning, good evening for our friends. Good morning. What challenges do you think the Brazilian startups are facing when they want to expand to the international, when they want to go to the international? What do you think the main challenges for the Brazilian startups? Would it be the mindset? Will it be the cultural baggage? Will it be the other factors? Could you please share with us?
I think that the most important thing is to start thinking global.
Yes.
When they create their idea, they are just thinking about solve this kind of problem from the market and make an addressable MVP, addressable high technology products to address from the specific market that he had already discovered one opportunity. But I think that they can think bigger. They can think more, not just from Brazil. Brazil is huge, as so huge as China, but the roads have a huge opportunity for them, and I think that can think across the border. And so I think that should start to create their startups, thinking as a big globally startups, and looking where in the world can be other opportunities without just on the countryside where he is. And I think that they can make a join with some partners around the world to increase the startup and to grow the startup quickly.
Great. Thank you, Mr. João Paulo. Yes, definitely think globally. It's very important for those startups that wants to expand from abroad, not only in Brazil. Thank you very much. My next question goes to Mr. Ricardo Trade, Chairman of the Board of Arena Hub. Mr. Ricardo, how do you see the Brazil innovation potential in the e-sport industry? Mr. Ricardo, I think you have to put it.
Sorry. I'm very happy to be here, but the thing is that we think that we have a huge opportunity in this field. Of course, we have a potential thing to develop and to join you Arena Hub is a kind of center of innovation and entrepreneur. We have now, exactly now, we started since the last 3 months, and we have now 32 startups. We are reaching 55 the next days, joining our system. It's very, very important. Today, right after this seminar, we are developing a kind of challenger, like a player with Sebrae here in Brazil, where some startups from us are participating in a kind of challenger to show their projects, and it's so interesting. They are reaching awards on this, and we're very happy to participate on this. We have more than 40 sport entities with us, national federations, clubs, volleyball clubs, futsal clubs, football clubs, and also some state federations with us in our ecosystem. We are very happy to receive. Of course, it's an opportunity how our startups could reach your market. I think it's important. As you said before, we have an opportunity to raise funds, to business opportunities, tax legal systems easier for us. That's so nice to develop this. At the end, we could propose to have a kind of seminar, web seminar, the next month to show to our startups here in our system that the opportunities that they could have in Hong Kong. That's important. We are here to give them, to give the startups and to give the sport entities solutions to all of their pains. We could say this.
Great, thank you, Mr. Ricardo. Yes, I think in this new normal environment, these sports will have a fantastic way to explore, a fantastic world to explore. My next question goes back to Mr. Eric. Mr. Eric, could you share with us how overseas startups, Brazilian startups, but all the overseas startups can also enjoy the funding programs provided by the Cyberport or the Hong Kong government? How does Cyberport help them?
Thank you, Daniel. Basically, it's very simple. You just need to have a business registration in Hong Kong. And as our friends in Invest Hong Kong said, you need to have a real operation here in Hong Kong, right? And then we actually treat you the same as any local Hong Kong startups. So we don't have any discriminations, against any overseas companies. They basically, you guys enjoy the same thing that the Hong Kong startup companies enjoy. And it is actually a very holistic program. Once you get into our incubation program, we actually give you up to 1 million Hong Kong dollars as a gift, which is a subsidy. And we don't even take any equity stakes in your company. So it's basically a very generous gesture to encourage people to come to Hong Kong and come to Cyberport. And then, and we also give you a free office for 2 years. So that's the duration of our incubation program. Obviously, after that 2 years, we hope that you have actually, grown into a reasonable size, and then you could stay in Cyberport and become our tenant and start, paying rent, right? So that's the minimum. That's the fundamentals that we give. But I think people actually treasures much more is really our network, our platform. We always believe that it's most important we help our startup to find customers. So we have a Cyberport enterprise network where very many large corporates, conglomerates already in our network, regularly looking at the innovation solutions that our startup provide. So they will become your potential customers. So we actually do business matching, solution matching, for our startup. And the next thing is we understand that startups also pay a lot of attention into raising funds. So we have also built up a Cyberport investor network where over 100 investors are already in our network, including Alibaba Entrepreneurship Fund. Many of those friendly funds are already investing into our startups, in the community. And the last thing I want to share is we also provide other support, like connecting you to technology partners, where they give actually free credits on cloud, on many AI tools and stuff like that, as well as professional services firm, like, CW, right? And many others who are very much eager to do business with the startup community. So basically, it's a holistic thing that we are doing. And because of this help, we already managed to groom a number of unicorns, from our community. And we talked about that even before, the webinar. So of the whole of Hong Kong, we have around, 9 unicorns so far. And 4 of them, around half of them actually comes from Cyberport community. So, we look forward to helping many of the Brazilian startups to become the next unicorn in this region, and hopefully we can help you to be very successful. Thank you.
Definitely, they are very good attractives and benefits to be localized the startups in the Cyberport. I know that set up a business, as you said, the first step necessary to be in Hong Kong. And I know that to set up a business in Hong Kong is very easy. So I would like to invite Mr. Thomas Wang and also Mr. Thiago Cruz to share with us the basic idea of how easy it is to set up your business, your registration in Hong Kong.
So I think I'll let Thiago say first, because I belong to also Invest Hong Kong as their promotion ambassador, so I would like Thiago to speak more, in the context of a Brazilian, so let him talk first, then I will supplement, okay?
Thank you, Thomas. We prepared the presentation, but I don't want to, I don't know if you can already see my screen. Yes. We've selected a few slides, but as you said in the beginning, I just want to keep the conversation flowing. So the objective here of this material is to share with you afterwards and for us to talk later and to interact about the content. So an overview, we'll talk about a few Hong Kong advantages, to talk about the business environment of the city, of course, to bring some detailed figures of the startup community and to detail what exactly Invest Hong Kong does to facilitate investments from overseas, right? So first thing, location. Hong Kong is very strategic because in a 5-hour flight, when it's possible to fly, of course, we can reach half of the world's population. So it's a crucial and very strategic location when you think about setting up an operation abroad. One country, 2 systems, I think you should all know. Hong Kong is part of mainland China, and but it has a specific and some peculiarities in terms of the regime, like, for example, a very competitive and simple tax system that we have already talked before. So basically, companies in Hong Kong pay 16.5% of profits of tax, with this recent very competitive reduction of 8.25 when companies they reach up to 2,000 million Hong Kong dollars of profits. So very, very competitive and simple tax system, which can be attractive for Brazilian companies. In terms of business environment, this is the survey that Invest Hong Kong conducts every year. So we know that we could see that approximately 9,000 companies from outside, from all over the world, are based in Hong Kong. Numbers from 2017 to 2018 grew almost 10%. And almost 30% of this number are companies have international companies with regional headquarters in Hong Kong. So companies that are really choosing Hong Kong to conduct a strategic activities. Those foreign international companies, they create a good amount of jobs in the city, almost 500,000, and a new record high if we compare the 2017 to 2018 numbers. Where does those companies come from? As I mentioned, not only from mainland China and Asian cities like Japan, or Asian countries like Japan and Singapore, but also US and UK, they play a very important role into sending companies, international companies, to Hong Kong. This is, I think, it's more suitable to our discussion because it's really a deep dive in the startup community. Let's not forget, Eric said we have 7.5, 7.8 million inhabitants in Hong Kong, and already more than 3,000 startups. This number should be higher, a growth of 200% in 6 years. As Thomas mentioned in the beginning, maybe Hong Kong started in this startup game a bit late, but we are catching up very fast. And indicators like the number of employees, and of course, the number of co-working spaces, accelerators, and incubators shows how dense is the startup community in Hong Kong. And as I mentioned in Daniel's question, those startups, they are not only Asian or not only from Hong Kong founders. They are 60%, of course, local, but almost 40%, 41% from those countries: US, mainland China, UK, France, and Australia. So it shows, and if we relate to Brazil, for example, mainly the Brazilian startups have Brazilian founders behind, or Brazilian funds behind. That's not the case of Hong Kong, and this really shows how international the community is in Hong Kong. And not only international, but also diverse, right? You can see that all types of startups are being founded or are being exploring the Hong Kong market, and Cyberport is a very good indicator of that. Of course, fintech has a very big chunk of this pie, but design, e-commerce, ICT, data analytics, AI, they all are choosing Hong Kong from all over the world to set up their operations there. And just a slide with the logos, I think it's visually important to show of Cyberport is here in the first line, very important partner, very key player in this ecosystem of startups. But you can see that there are lots of other big players around, and how dense the scene is there in that sense as well. This is a slide that I always put to show that from every startup life cycle phase, we can provide support, or you can find support in Hong Kong ecosystems, from ideation to exit, right? And I won't detail any special name, but you can see here, for example, Cyberport has a very important role with their creative micro fund in the ideation phase. When startups, they progress to MVP or a more mature stage, Cyberport is there, also incubating companies. And of course, the whole scale up and exit can count on the very powerful fund management industry that Hong Kong offers. So far, we can account for 7 Hong Kong unicorns. Some of them, or a big chunk of them, were born inside Cyberport. I think Eric and Harry will mention this later, right? And just a few also more data on the fintech ecosystem, because fintech actually next week is starting our Hong Kong Fintech Week, which the Cyberport Venture Capital Forum is part of, right? So you can also see how fintech is strategic, is important, and how this ecosystem is always growing within this slide, where you can have an idea of the whole fintech ecosystem around fintech Hong Kong. Inside Invest Hong Kong, we promote 2 flagship startup festivals, actually startup events yearly. The first one happened July this year, the StartmeupHK Festival, very important in order to gather the whole startup scene and to promote Hong Kong in virtual events. Actually, this year, the events were all virtual, but in vertical events. And as I mentioned, the upcoming FinTech Week this year, of course, all virtual, but I invite you all to go to this Hong Kong FinTech website and subscribe there and join this amazing event. This is a slide that I put for you to scan for further details on how government funding can be available to Brazilian startups, from setup to research and development, hiring, business development, and business expansion and upgrading. We can provide some government funding to startup from Brazil. Okay. Greater Bay Area, already mentioned by Daniel, already mentioned by Thomas and by Eric, really important because you cannot only in these days look for the population of Hong Kong or the Hong Kong market. Brazilian can scale up, Brazilian startups can plan to scale up in the whole Greater Bay Area region, population 71 million people, huge GDP, land area, and should be, as José Ricardo said, considered together with Silicon Valley, Tokyo Bay Area for Brazilian and international startups to scale up and to grow out of Brazil. So finally, our role, what does Invest Hong Kong do? Invest Hong Kong is a government department. We represent them in Brazil. We are their principal consultants here, basically to assist companies on those 4 stages, right? From planning, when companies are like, you should be thinking about, well, I just came across that Hong Kong has a very hot and important startup scene. So how do I get there? Who are the key players? So we can assist you facilitating the connection. So Invest Hong Kong is truly a hub that can gather information and share really key information for you to plan your setup overseas. The setup phase, critical phase, once the business plan usually is approved, how do I start a company in Hong Kong? Which are the regulations that I should follow? Which are the service providers? How do I set up a company there? Who I hire and where? So where do I localize my business? Where office space that I should hire? Do I need to, visa to expatriate my executives? All the painful steps that are from the setup phase in Invest Hong Kong can be with you hand by hand, providing information and facilitation for you to get to the other side of the world. The launch phase and expansion are also critical. We can, of course, develop, and we all develop long-term relationships with the companies we assist, and we want all to continue to grow and continue to be successful in Hong Kong. In Invest Hong Kong, we work in a matrix way. So as I mentioned, I am the responsible for the Brazilian geography, but in our headquarters, we have sector teams, which are owners of the specifics, all types of specifics inside their segment. So we have pillar industries, as we say, sectors like BPS, financial services, and TNO, and transport and industrial, very much related to the economic vocations of Hong Kong, the traditional economic vocations of Hong Kong. But innovation and technology plays a very important, significant role, together with the lifestyle and creative, which is also innovation and technology in a sense, with segments like, or sectors like consumer products, T&H, tourism and hospitality, and creative industries. A few logos, a few projects that we really recently completed from Brazil. You can see Bradesco, you can see Havaianas, you can see CSN, Patra Investimentos, Mundial, Umanota, all are facilitated projects, or completed project, as we say in our specific language, from Brazilian companies to Hong Kong. Specifically, Alpargatas last year, they chose to have their Asian headquarters in Hong Kong, a very strategic and important client This slide is related to the unicorns. We'd love to have the 15 all based in Hong Kong. Why we don't have, we just compare how Brazil is producing and creative in unicorns when we compare with other countries in the world. This is Crunch-based news from last year. Brazil was the third country, just tied with Germany in 2019 in terms of creating and producing unicorns to the world. If we compare this number with the remaining part of the other part of Latin America, you can see that Brazil accounts to more than half of the unicorns that we have. So we have density. We can really work together with our tech partner Cyberport to facilitate this path towards from Brazil towards Asia. So this is our last slide that shows that Invest Hong Kong has a very broad and worldwide network. So see this slide as a repository of best practices, right? So Invest Hong Kong is year by year, as I mentioned in the beginning, facilitating 400, 500 investments from all over the world into Hong Kong. And this gives to us a very good expertise to facilitate Brazilian projects, Brazilian investments. Important to say, we don't charge for this type of service. All services that we provide are fully confidential and customized to each internationalization project. Finally, I share with you my contacts. Please feel free to reach out. Back to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Tiago. To all the participants, why I let Tiago speak first, basically he represents Invest Hong Kong, the Brazil market, and Invest Hong Kong is a government body. All services rendered by Tiago and the government will be free of charge. And for me, I'm a businessman. I run a CPA firm doing business in Latin America, not free of charge from me, So people come to me when they want to set up a company, I have to charge. So that's why I let the free of charge person talk first. And then for me, I have to charge, I talk later, all right? So setting up a company in Hong Kong is fairly easy. I think I have helped a lot of Brazilian companies set up their companies in Hong Kong, like Imaginarium, like Positivo, like Clean, like many. I don't have so many brand names like Tiago showed all of you just now, but I think I represent quite a number of Brazilian companies in Hong Kong. We call this a very good cluster that because Hong Kong is a vibrant city and we are using the common law. So that is very, usable in the whole world. And also that if we form a limited company in Hong Kong, apart from the advantages that Tiago mentioned just now, it normally takes only 2 weeks or even less, to have all the, paperwork and then submitted to the company registry. And right now in Hong Kong, if I do remember, there is about over 300,000 limited companies already on the company registry, all right? Out of a population of, we only have 7.5 million. So that shows that why Hong Kong is so important as a commercial center. And I want to say a little bit more that because now of COVID, I think of how to help, the Latin American businessmen, including the Brazilians, of course, So coming to Hong Kong to set up business without flying here. So all they do, is to look for Invest Hong Kong, look for me. And then I help them all the work, I can do, a Zoom meeting with them. Even if they want to open a bank account, I can open HSBC with them for them, using their HSBC digital banking. So I think this kind of convenience, this startup services offered by me, by the government, and by many participants today, and my partners like Cyberport. I hope that we can really help businessmen coming to Hong Kong to do business, which is very easy. So I think that's all from me, So if I hope I answer your question, you know, Daniel.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you, Mr. Thiago. No doubt Hong Kong has a vibrant digital ecosystem to support the Brazilian startups. Particularly, I think you, Mr. Thomas and Thiago, will have very busy days from our audience that will look for you to open the business, their representation companies in Hong Kong. So, Ms. Whaley, back to you, please. I think now we just finished the first part of our webinar today, and Ms. Whaley will start the second part of the webinar. Thank you very much, every one of you.
Yes, thank you, Daniel, and thanks for our panelists' insightful sharing. And next, we will enter into the second section, which will be a presentation section. And just now we have heard the presentation from Thiago. And next, I would like to introduce Mr. Henry Fan from Cyberport, and he will give a presentation about Cyberport and also a very interesting program called Cyberport Venture Capital Forum. And I will pass the platform to Mr. Henry Fan, please.
Okay. Thanks very much, Whaley, for introducing me. Firstly, let me share my screen. I made a presentation. So I hope everyone can see it now. So hi, good morning all. So my name is Henry. Basically, I'm from Cyberport. I'm the manager of the ecosystem development team. Basically of Cyberport, work under the umbrella of Eric. So I think Eric has described a lot what Cyberport is doing, what we can offer. So in this part, I will give some more supplementary information so that you guys understand more what Cyberport is and what if you come to Hong Kong, how you can make use of the innovation hub of in Hong Kong that you can grow your business. So here on the slide, just very quickly, on the left-hand side, that picture is basically what you can see about the Cyberport. So we are actually located along the seaside. Very nice view, very nice scene. Do visit us. When you come to Hong Kong, it is a very nice place. So Cyberport is basically the digital tech hub of Hong Kong, just like what Eric described. So we are established by the Hong Kong government, and great. So what is the purpose of setting up such an innovation hub in Hong Kong? So basically Cyberport, we actually drive the digital technology development in Hong Kong. We want to make it a key economic drivers for Hong Kong. So here give you a overview and what it actually looks like. The first picture that I showed you is a very nice scene, but here you can see the whole setup of the Cyberport. So we are not just one office room or something like that. So you can see it here. So basically Cyberport is we have a 4 office building. We also own 1 hotel and one arcade, the shopping mall. So you can see we are actually providing 1 million square feet of office space. So the whole concept is that we think that for startup ecosystem, we cannot just host the startup, give a space to them. So basically, we built the whole park or the whole innovation hub. So we have some very big technology company, for example, the Microsoft Hong Kong headquarters is basically in the same buildings as our office. It is at the Cyberport too. And we got some other partners like AWS. They have their innovation hub and office here, and IBM and some others. So you can have the sense that we are not just, I mean, a standalone office space for startup, but when you come here, you can feel you got a lot of support in the whole community and ecosystem. And some more thing to show you here, because we got the space, we also want to let our startup company to showcase their product, or actually like kind of like test their product here. So here are some of the examples of what we are doing. We are making the whole Cyberport as a test bed for our like startup company. We set up some smart toilet, like smart hotel. We got the cyber lab. We also got the like we make our arcade, basically a esports arena here. So when you come, you can see a lot of showcases of our startup company. So in terms of like the community number of community members, basically we got like, so you can see the number here, like 1,568. So what is this number about? So basically this is the number of companies here. It is not the number of people working here. So basically like we got about almost like 800 of them on site, like on your left hand side of the slide. These are the combination of the company here. So out of the 800 company, we got about 100 of them office tenants. So basically they are the larger company or enterprises like the Microsoft that I described. And we also got the smart space companies. So the smart space companies is basically, it's kind of like our co-work space, but because we give them different support, so we give it a special name, smart space. So they got our like support from different aspects, no matter like fundraising or business development or some other like support services. And on site, we also got like 83 number of them are from our incubation program. You might think that, okay, 83 is not so much, but because our incubation program, we have an option for our startup company. They can be off-site incubatees. So our actual incubation are actually more. I'll tell you a bit more in the later slides. So on the right-hand side, you see a lot of logos. They are basically some of the example of the companies here. So maybe just quickly tell you something that perhaps you would be interested. So Eric talked about, okay, our first unicorn is GoGoVan. So they are now called GoGoX. So basically the second row, the logo second row, the first column, that one is the GoGoVan. They are actually quite a big company. I mean, in Hong Kong and also in Asia. What they are doing is basically the concept is very simple to tell, but difficult to do. Basically the Uber platform for logistics and also van. And then the Klook, the Klook company are also here. And some other company, I'll show you the logo here and tells you about their stories. So, okay, I have talked about like Cyberport is doing like the digital technology development. So what digital technology are you talking about actually? So here in this slide, I want to show you this. So we know digital technology is quite a broad concept. So we try to, find a focus and balance here. So here you can see, basically we are doing the focus cluster. We call it like 3+3. So the first 3 is basically the application cluster, the fintech, smart living, and also esports. I know we got some very good esports company and also partners speakers here. So I think we can find a very good match. But like out of these 3, I will tell you, even more what we are doing about fintech, because I would say Cyberport is basically the powerhouse. I would describe it, the powerhouse of the fintech development in Hong Kong. We got some very good development. We got some very early virtual insurance licensees in Hong Kong. We got virtual bank. Their office is here. I'll tell you what the company is all about. And other than the application cluster, you can see we got the technology cluster as well. We call it like the vertical cluster, so the horizontal cluster. So basically, we call them like ABC. So you can easily understand. So AI, blockchain, and cybersecurities. So I don't need to explain too much nowadays. Everyone knows about it. But when you talk about or try to find some good stuff or good companies or these clusters, you can find from Cyberport. We got some very good ABC companies here. So let me go to the next slide. We always say like Hong Kong is very international community or society, but at the same time, Cyberport is just like the mini Hong Kong. We are very international. So you can see, we got a lot of like expat entrepreneurs. So here is the composition of them. Although like Hong Kong is a part of China, but you can see from mainland China, if we count them as like expat entrepreneurs, they only have, they only account for like 20%. But all the others, you can see the second place, US, UK, France, Australia, India, Japan. They are from the long way to Cyberport to start their business. So if you come to Hong Kong from Brazil, you won't feel lonely because there are, a lot of like expat entrepreneurs that you can connect with. And here, a very quick chart that I want to show you. So basically, this is the fundraising record of some of our startup company. So just two numbers. Firstly, just two things that I want to show you. The first one is on the subject, on the title of the slide. So over the years, our startup company have like raised Hong Kong dollar 13 billions already. That's quite a good number for all the company. But at the same time, when you see the trend, you can see it is kind of like exponential growth over the years. What you can see here is that actually the Hong Kong startup ecosystem is kind of like got much more mature over the years, and investors are looking at the Hong Kong market, the startup market, and they are investing more. So when you come, the opportunity is here. So, and some more information about us. So what we do, we cultivate and develop tenants, the green thing. So I'll tell you about what program that we are doing to introduce you some of our resources here. And at the same time, the light blue thing, like we integrate new and traditional economies. So we got a lot of like connection with our enterprises to give them business opportunities, business matching. At the same time, this is the business opportunities for our startup company. And also like the deep blue things, we drive the industry development. We got a lot of amazing events and also different initiatives to drive the development of our industry. I will actually CVCF is a part of the Venture Capital Forum that I will introduce you later. So here a lot of information on this slide, but I will be quick to give you some focus here. So you can see like 6 circles here. So what's the idea? So basically they are the 6 circles or like 6 backbone programs for the staff that want to join us in our community. So I remember like Diego described in his slide. So he talked about like, okay, startup life cycle. It's very true. All startups have their different cycle. So that's why we designed such a like 6 programs. From the very left hand side, the university program for the graduate, and along the way, the Creative Micro Fund is kind of like the pre-incubation. In the 3rd circle, the incubation program, this is the thing or the program that you should look into. I will give you a bit more information. So the idea is this, we built our incubation program. The program is like for 2 years. We give them financial assistance, Hong Kong dollar, 500,000 Hong Kong dollar. That's a grant. We don't ask for any equity. We don't ask for any program fee or something like that to help you. I will give you more information later. So please excuse me. I'll skip here. And then The fourth circle and the fifth circle is like the to help them in the like scale up stage, to help them to join accelerator or to go overseas. And the last one, we are an incubator, but at the same time, Cyberport is also an investor. So we got our like a macro fund. We invest in our own community company. Here, I'll tell you a bit more information if I got time about our investment fund. So let me spend a bit more time in the upcoming 3 slides, because I think you guys, if could be very interested in such a program, incubation program. So what we are looking for our incubation program, that we don't, really ask for like any grant, equity or program fee. So basically, when we evaluate the company that they can join us in our incubation program, we're based on these 5 criteria, and this is the balance that of the focus that we look for. So basically, we look for a company that their product or their business have market viability, their management team, and also their business scalability, and also whether they got a functional prototype or product that is really solving a real problem. And the last one is innovativeness. Here I would say Cyberport is we really focus on like innovation, but why innovativeness is only 10%. So I will actually tell you, Cyberport is all about like business opportunities. So we think like when we talk about innovation, market viability and also the scalability and also the viable product is very important. We built a lot of like a connection with enterprises and also some other like overseas enterprises. So we look for companies that, their product are really ready for the market. So this is the reason why. And here, I will also try to show you, so like how we distribute those grants. So basically, what we are doing here, when they join us, we give them, kind of like initial working capital grant to them. But after that, when you are admitted to our program, we kind of like set the milestones with you. So we distribute the rest of the grant based on the whether you can reach or achieve such milestones with the progress review with our colleague. And one note for you, I think actually it worth it, because when our like colleague do the review with you, actually they are giving you coaching, give you mentoring, and also you can tell them what you need, what kind of partners that you want to reach out for, and then they will help you. So many people like when I talk with like startup, I always tell them, okay, the money is good, but the most fantastic thing about our program is not that, it's the soft side. It's about our know-how, because from our incubation program, we incubate unicorns already. We incubate some of the virtual, very first batch of virtual like insurance company here in Hong Kong. So I think we got some know-how in that. And here I want to show you our application timeline. You are still, it's still possible for you to join us in our community, because the next year one is not yet ready. So I'm still showing you the schedule for this year. Take a look of the last column. The next batch of like application is by the 1st of December. You can still submit your application. So basically, let me give you some number. So basically, like for our incubation program, each year we intake around 100 companies from these 3 intakes. And actually, the competition is quite strong, I would say, because this is what we actually do. Okay, we reach out to different like partners, no matter in Hong Kong or overseas. That's why I introduced this program to you. So actually, like the application in every intake, they flow from they come in from different countries, and it is also the reason why which make our incubation program so successful, because we know different good people come together, they make good things. So if you think you are good, welcome to join us, and submit your application. You can see our like application portal on our website. Feel free to visit it, or like I think I will also, perhaps after this webinar, I will also send you some information via like Thomas, please. Thanks a lot for organizing this, by the way. So I have some more information to show you. In the upcoming few slides, I just want to give you some example about what like on the fintech cluster, what we are doing. So I will be a bit quick for telling this. Please excuse me on that. So because I want to show you what we are doing, at Cyberport. So I used the fintech cluster as an example. So here we call ourselves like the powerhouse of fintech startups. So basically, like our ecosystem have over 300 fintech companies. So here you see some logo. Probably you are, because you are not from Asia or you are not from Hong Kong, you don't know most of them. But here like the on the left hand side, the ZA International, they are the first batch of like virtual banking licensee in Hong Kong, plus WeLab as well. They are our community members. And on the very right hand side, so these are some of the companies, not some of them, but basically they are the virtual insurers, licensed or approved under the fast track in Hong Kong. And I think if not all of them, but I think most of them are actually from our incubation program as well. Although they changed name afterwards. So you can see our fintech cluster is very strong. And the pictures, probably you can see, we bring them to Singapore. We visit them to visit with them together with our government officials, very senior one, the financial secretary, together to London. So we bring the impact to London, and then we bring the connection back. And then we also have different awards each year. You can see the picture on the top right hand side. And here we talk about, okay, we got over 300 of fintech companies. So what are them? So this pie chart, you can see the combination of them. I will not spell out every one of them, but you can see it's quite broad. And basically you can see the opportunities of fintech in Hong Kong is also quite good, because it is not only in one subcluster. Actually, the whole fintech cluster is growing very fast. I think Hong Kong as a traditional financial hub, we got some advantage on that. So if you are doing fintech related or fintech, I think Hong Kong is in your first choice. I would suggest for your Asia trip. Wait a bit. So I got five more minutes. So here, let me give you some more information. I talk about, okay, is the soft support that can help us start the most. So here I want to show you some example. So basically, what we are doing, we know what startup needs. They need some business opportunities, investment or fundraising opportunities, or some technology support. So these three network, the circles that I'm showing here, basically they are the network or the platform that Cyberport is doing. So Cyberport Enterprise Network, Cyberport Investor Network, and Cyberport Technology Network. To put it simple, so basically we built these three network, so we get connection with the investor, with the enterprise, with the tech giants. So our startup got the support or the business opportunity with them. This is what we do. Basically, this is actually our the ecosystem development team do. So here are some of the example of like the Cyberport Enterprise Network doing. So we got some hackathon, we got some business matching, the second pictures. We also got some to organize different like no matter challenge or some showcase together with some banks or some enterprises. And technology network. So we got some certificate program. We got some special package for our incubators. We got some support workshop together with the tech giants. This is what we do. The investor network. So basically, we got over 100 investors in this network. So they are actually they will look into our project to see whether there are some investor opportunities for them. So if you are like looking for investor, I think we got some support for you as well. And here, as I said, we are also an investor as well. This Cyberport Macro Fund is what we are doing. So here are the information. Let me don't tell too much, but basically what we are doing, we know that startup raising fund is difficult. So basically we got some funding. This fund is basically a co-investment fund. We won't be a lead investor, but this macro fund work well with the Cyberport investor network together, so that when the objective is that when we invest in $1, we got some other investor network. At the same time, the startup will look for some outside investor. It will drive. We got some kind of like $1. We want to, when we invest $1, we help them to attract a few more dollars into that investment to make it a larger investment for Iran. So this is the whole idea of our macro fund and also the Cyberport investor network. So here comes to the slide, and actually today I will also would like to introduce you this upcoming very good event of what we are doing, the Cyberport Venture Capital Forum. So when I tell the name, I think it's very intuitive. We want to make an event, basically a forum, that we want to bring the investors to the same place, so that we at the same time we invite our startup, or actually we invite like overseas startup if they are interested, join us in this forum, so that they can mingle and also connect with each other. At the same time, they know what is happening in the VC circles, what the investors are looking for. So this year we made it a virtual one. What usually is a physical event, but this year is a virtual event. We bring in like over 60 experts and also investors to be the panelists and speakers. At the same time, we also got some investor matching platform, so that the investor can check out the deals. I will share the link about this venture capital forum as well, Cyberport Venture Capital Forum as well, so that you can visit it, and also you can register yourself. Do join us. So the next week is the big week for Hong Kong. So as Diego explained, the next week is the FinTech Week of Hong Kong. At the same time, is the Cyberport Venture Capital Forum. I think for you guys, no matter like your fintech company or not, but if you're a startup, join us. No matter like raising fund or business opportunities, I think it's a good week to join us. So good. So thanks very much. So this is what I want to update you guys today. Thanks a lot, Thomas and Willie. Back to you.
Thank you, Henry. And right now we are entering into the Q&A section for all panelists. And we have picked some questions from the chat box. And the first question is from Mary Lowe. Her question is that given the pandemic and restriction of travel, what types of businesses do you believe can leverage their product or service in the current environment with the greatest chance of success in the Greater Bay Area region? What trends are you seeing? And maybe for this question, we can ask Eric, or maybe Tiago can also give some information if you wish.
So yeah, let me give it a try first. And there's actually a Chinese saying that whenever there's threats, there's actually a lot of opportunities there as well. So throughout this pandemic, both individuals as well as businesses are going through a lot of tough time. But then many of our startups have managed to adapt quickly and flesh out a lot of very innovative solutions, to help fight COVID, helping individuals, to overcome many of their daily life challenges, as well as businesses to stay in business, like a lot of those work from home solutions, basic is business continuity type of solutions. So I would suggest that in this kind of tough time is also what we see is a growing trend of speeding up the digital transformation journey for many industry, big and small companies. And many of those solutions, as far as I see it, are pretty universal and could be easily deployed in many parts in the regions. So apart from working with Invest Hong Kong, we have also been working very closely with Trade Development Council, which is another government organization that helps startup in Hong Kong to export many of these innovation solutions to neighboring countries and the regions. So far, many of our startups have actually leveraged our partners to export those solutions and along the Belt and Road countries. So apart from this Greater Bay Area regions that I talked about earlier, we also have lined up a lot of international partnership within Asia, including places like Thailand. They have a similar setup like Cyberport. They call it InnoSpace. So we have like reciprocal lending support partnership with them. And basically throughout this regions, we have a lot of partnership, and we can also help our startup to actually go to those places. Yes, travel is restricted, but then some of them actually go about with having channel partners in local areas to help them do business development activities. And I would say that our startup never stopped and keep pushing forward, even in this tough time. One thing I must say is fundraising has been a challenge. So, and that's why we believe that the show must go on. And that's why the CVCF, the Cyberport Venture Capital Forum, will be held as planned. And we hope that we could actually close some of those funding gaps as well, which is so very much important to the growing stage of many of our startups. So probably that's what I could offer at this moment. Right. Thank you.
I'd just like to add, Eric and Willie, in our perspective, everything that you mentioned, we see here in the Brazilian geography. But Brazil is a very big country, right? So we have a very big population, really far away in terms of distance, geographic distance from Asia. And the pandemic caused a very good reflection moment, right? Not only in our personal lives, but also on business lines, business plans. Where should I direct my business to? And during this whole pandemic months, we've received a lot of requests in that sense. Companies really starting, companies that had never thought, big companies, right? I'm not talking about 1-2 people companies, like big scale-ups already with proven technology, generating revenue in Brazil, but that before they were looking into other international markets like US, which is closer, or even Europe. And the pandemic made them to think, to open their mind and to think more broadly. And we all know that this cultural barrier is something that really exists in internationalization projects. And I'm optimistic in that sense that the pandemic really helped, or is helping, to change the mindset of those Brazilian entrepreneurs that were really only inward looking and are now more open to looking outside of our country and our region.
Great, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Thiago, for the insights. Our next question comes from Ms. Su Junko. What are the preliminary requirements of the Brazilian startups before going to Hong Kong? Should they have any recurring revenue in Brazil? Ms. Su asked this question because the startups should be ready before setting up a company in Hong Kong and raise money. This question, probably Mr. Henry Fan. Would you like to share your thoughts?
So the criteria that they come to Hong Kong to is it like coming to our join our incubation program? I suppose, right?
Join the incubation program.
Yeah, sure. So basically, as when we evaluate a company, basically we base on that 5 criteria. So I would say if you got a good product already in the market, it can help you to join our market very much, because the concept is very simple. I mean, if you don't have your product up running in the market in Brazil or in the Latin America, it will be very difficult for you to just come Hong Kong. Okay, I sell the product. So this is the criteria. But if you talk about like the how to say eligibility of joining our program. So basically, when you apply for our program, either you got one of your company set up in Hong Kong already, or you are kind of like in the process of applying as well. So when you submit your application, we would ask you for your certificate of incorporation in Hong Kong. Or if you have not yet have that certificate, you can show us that perhaps you appointed someone in the process of applying that. Then it will be okay. I mean, but before the admission, you need to show us that okay, your company is already set up in Hong Kong, and that's it.
I would like just to give a short supplement is if I look at more of our successful overseas companies that have expanded into this part of the region, many of them have either proven their business model in their home countries, but then they use Hong Kong as a launching pad to do so to speak a local adaptation for the Asian market, and by doing that they could basically test run their solutions, their innovations in this part of the world, and once they are successful, they will then start planning how to basically expand out of Hong Kong to neighboring countries, and with our help, right? The international partnership that we have developed, and many of the unicorns that we have managed to build, I think that's the formula, right? You do a POC, proof of concept, here in Hong Kong, which proves that your product is more successful. It is still very successful in this Asian market. Then you expand for a bigger market, We talk about GBA, the Greater Bay Area of China, and we talk about the Asian countries or the ASEAN countries that we are also able to help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric and Henry.
Yes, thank you, Eric and Henry. And the next question is from Fabio Cardo. His question is that Hong Kong is considered fiscal paradise for the Brazilian government. Brazilian government investments in services in China go through Hong Kong do not permit the reduction of federal taxes in the exchange of the payments, increasing the costs up to 30% comparing to paying directly to mainland China. Is there any initiative to make Hong Kong be excluded from the list of fiscal paradise? How Hong Kong can be competitive with China mainland for receiving payments for services? Would it be better to have companies based in China mainland? And maybe Tiago, can you help to answer this question?
Well, this question, number one, yes, we are aware that Hong Kong government is conducting talks with Brazilian government in order to clarify the fiscal policies that Hong Kong practices, because Hong Kong is not a fiscal paradise. Hong Kong is the opposite of being a fiscal paradise. Hong Kong is very transparent, very open. But the thing is that Hong Kong practices a fiscal tax rate which is below what is expected or is said by Brazilian government to to classify countries as a fiscal paradise. So we are aware that there are conversations and talks, and I really believe that it should be resolved soon. But what I would say, and this is really important because we are in this bridge for a long time now, I never saw this to be a barrier or something that really impacted Brazilian investments, either startups, big companies, medium companies, into Hong Kong. Because when Brazilian companies or even international companies from anywhere in the world, they go to Hong Kong, they are going to another part of the world to exploit a new market, to acquire revenues or clients or a chunk of income that they didn't have before. So as Eric just mentioned, when you open Brazilian founder open a Hong Kong company in Hong Kong, it's a company which is local. Doesn't matter if the founder is Brazilian, if it's Mexican, Argentinian, European, it's a Hong Kong company. And there they will have the chance to, explore the Hong Kong potential, the Asia potential, a market that it wasn't available before. An example of that again is Alpargatas, the company that I mentioned in my presentation. It's a very dear brand and company for Brazilians, which chose Hong Kong to establish their Asian headquarters. And it's public. It's a public company, listed company in Brazil, and it is said that by their CEO, by their board of directors, that because of this base in Asia during the pandemic, they were able to accelerate their digital exposure and digital best practices that they after brought this to their headquarters in Brazil and made the results of Alpargatas during those pandemic months very, very good. So it's not about, just tax agreements, tax returns, but the whole upside and the whole new market and new technology frontiers that companies are looking into expanding to Hong Kong and Asia.
Great. Thank you, Thiago. Our last question comes from Mr. Douglas Negrosoli. I have a technology startup that works for culture and art. I was in Hong Kong and mainland China during that year through the pandemic and had trouble returning to Brazil via Hong Kong because of different laws. how it will be possible to start in Hong Kong and Macau testing our company without me having problems and disagreements with the governments of mainland China? In case when I need to regionalize the product, and it's also a social product. Please, how to start in Hong Kong, thinking in all China approach? This question, I suppose, probably Mr. Thomas would like to share your thoughts.
Yes, this is quite a broad question, meaning that because you are thinking of all mainland China. But I would say that because if you are stuck in China or you want to do things in China, and during this pandemic, but with, Hong Kong now being, included in the Greater Bay Area, I think, first of all, don't think of all the China first. Think of just the Greater Bay Area, because Hong Kong is in there, Macau is in there. And from this angle, you can develop yourself, and then definitely, there is a way out, in socializing your product, in regionalizing your product, using Greater Bay Area as a stepping stone to go out to the whole of all the China, and using the Greater Bay Area through Hong Kong to go out to the rest of the world. So, well, I think I have helped a lot of Brazilian clients, stuck, with this pandemic. They cannot go out of China, go out of the Greater Bay Area. And I have helped them, using this concept, through Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is in the Greater Bay Area, through Hong Kong, and it can reach out, whatever. And I hope I have answered you this question. If not, you can write to Tiago, because also Invest Hong Kong got an office, free of charge, of course, got an office also in Guangzhou, which is in the Greater Bay Area. So if you want to have a free of charge answer, look for Tiago first. Look for me, I would charge you,
But just adding something that it's, I think, just highlights the importance of this webinar and of this great gathering that we are promoting today, because we know that Brazilian companies, when they travel, or even, the exercise of buying an air ticket to travel 30 hours and go to the other side of the world to spend a week, it's expensive. It's expensive for a startup. And this is why it is really important to be well assisted, right? To be well connected with partners. And we are all here. We have all the credentials to help Brazilian companies that are really willing to do this movement, really willing to, to travel to the other side of the world, to travel to Hong Kong, to invest money, to invest time in such a venture. Contact us before. Let us know. Let us help myself, Thomas, Danielle, or Cyberport directly. You should be well assisted, and we are all here for you.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Diego.
you, Thomas. Tiago.
Yes, thank you. So it looks like we've covered basically all of our questions. And if you have anything else to ask, please feel free to reach out to us after the webinar. And before the end of the webinar, Mr. Thomas Wong would like to give a few minutes for a final remark. So welcome, Mr. Thomas Wong.
Thank you, Wiley, and thank you for all the participants, especially in Brazil, getting up so early, because I know that now I think it's 7 or 8 o'clock in Brazil. And, thanks for, getting up so early. So the beauty of having this webinar so early in, in the morning, in Brazil, there is one word we call recording. So this webinar is being recorded. And, with all the information, given by so many panelists, I sincerely hope that, such recording will be broadcasted through Tiago of Invest Hong Kong, through Jose, and through Joao, and even through Ricardo Trade, of Arena Hub, So Leader China, Raja Valley, and Arena Hub, together with Invest Hong Kong, and together with me, and together with Cyberport, this is a soccer team. This is a soccer team for you to beat, in terms of startups. So I hope with such recording, even though the participants is 40, about 40, we have 100 registration, 40 because it's so early in the morning in Brazil. So it can be broadcasted. It can be showcased to people that even during this pandemic, we still can do business. The Brazilian can still do business without traveling, can do business through this startup community of the few persons that I mentioned just now, Raja Valley, Arena Hub, Leader China, and Invest Hong Kong, Cyberport. This is a soccer team for you to beat. So for me, I grew up, when I was young, watching the Brazilian football, and a lot of people know that I like, not Pele, but Rivellino. So I know a lot of Brazilian culture. Football is in my heart, and of course, I also listened, to what we call the samba music. But what touched me a lot, as a businessman, is not samba music. It's, a band called Santana. I like the music, from Carlos Santana. So I'm a very, very international businessman. And this is what, Hong Kong can offer. Hong Kong is an international hub. Hong Kong is an international financial city. And, with Cyberport representing a small Hong Kong, with, so many, startups already in the Cyber Hub community. And if you want to do business, you have no money, you can let Diego know, and Diego will direct you to Cyberport. And then, we can apply, through the Cyberport fund. And also, one fund that I think Eric has missed out to mention to the participants this morning is called the Alibaba Fund, the Alibaba Entrepreneur Fund, or whatever, So there are a lot of funds available only if you can meet, the requirements, through Diego of Invest Hong Kong, and then subsequently Diego will direct you, to Cyberport. So we bring startups from Brazil to Hong Kong, but at the same time, we also export, startups to Brazil, to any part of the world through Trade Development Council. So there will not be a clash of efforts, because, one of the participants in this seminar here this morning is my very good friend, Marina Barros. She is with, Trade Development Council. And Hong Kong Trade Development Council works also very closely with Cyberport. So Hong Kong Trade Development Council can export Hong Kong startups to meet the startups in Brazil with Invest Hong Kong Diego. So this is the beauty of the soccer team. And with this recording that we have this morning, I hope that it can be broadcasted in the whole of Brazil, through our different channels, So I think this is my final remark. And, it's a little bit late in Hong Kong, and it's still very early in Brazil. That's the remark. And I look forward, to have the second webinar together with Cyberport, together with the soccer team, and, we play good football, I think that's all for me today. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. And before we end, may I ask if other panelists have any final remarks for the webinar?
Well, I forgot to mention that we already have, Hong Kong startups expanding into the Brazil market. One of them is called Packpo Box, which is an intelligent kind of a locker, that you can use with an app, right? And then we also have Brazilian companies already landed in Cyberport in our co-working space. So I would say this is an invitation, for more Brazilian companies to come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So
I just would like to thank you again for the opportunity, and and Thomas, Cyberport. It's been really a pleasure to have you all together talking about Hong Kong to Brazilian markets. And the more we can put traction in this bridge, it's better for everyone. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Tiago. If there are no other questions, I believe this comes to an end of this webinar. So thank you for your active participation, and you are more than welcome to join the incubation program and also the Cyberport Venture Capital Forum organized by Cyberport, and also other activities organized by Invest Hong Kong and Cyberport. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to leave your contact details in the chat box, and we will reach you out later on. So thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.